Good evening. This is Jack for Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Wednesday, the 19th of March. All right, okay, we had a decent FOMC today, and we've seen a higher high in this rally, and I'm optimistic that we're going to see the rest of the relief rally that I've been looking at for the next few days. Now, our window's up into April the 2nd. I don't know if the rally is going to last quite that long, but unless the administration changes course, I'm pretty sure it's going to end then. We will see how that goes. But really, what I would like to see is some kind of a clear bear flag form so that we can pinpoint where the high in this rally is likely to be. We've got some targets, but obviously we have a number of resistance levels to negotiate. I'll go through those again tonight, and the initial targets, obviously, on the reversal patterns, which I think, fingers crossed, almost reaching escape velocity, but I think they're increasingly likely to be hit. We shall see. But in the meantime, no current divergence on ES. Breaking up for a double bottom with a target in the 5870 to 5900 area. On NQ, no current divergence either, and we're not close to developing any. Didn't quite make a higher high today, I don't think. No, didn't quite make it, but looks set fair to break up. This looks much more like a double bottom on NDX, so I'll talk about the targets, NQs, so I'll talk about the targets there. On RTY, we broke up from the double bottom today. I've been looking at it all week, and that has a target which is up at about the 2190 area. On YM, we've got an IHS which has formed. This is one I was speculating might form when I did my post 2 days ago, and that one's broken up with a target in the 43,750 area. Looking at DAX and ESTX, we've retested the high already on DAX, leaning towards it going a bit higher. We will see how that goes, but I didn't really have any targets higher, and of course, the entire correction that's happened on the US indices hasn't actually happened on on DAX. This was a retest of the all-time high, so we're very, very close below it. So ESTX getting pretty close to the IHS target, expecting that to make that and probably see a retest of the all-time high on this too. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, on SPX. Nice looking little double bottom. It's broken up. We had a little flag form, and it's made a higher high. This could be the second high of a double top. We could see a sharp rejection here, but I'm leaning against that. I'm thinking this rally hopefully has some more space, and we've broken up over the falling megaphone resistance I had marked in. So I'm really leaning towards seeing ideally a 50% retracement. The targets don't take us that far. I've got the targets on SPX in the 5760 and the 5782 area, I think. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the daily, where we've got a buy signal, and that's only just over halfway to target. I'm leaning towards that making target, and I'm liking the upside here. Obviously, we're in a very news-rich environment. That could affect things, but SPX looking good, and ES looking good. And I'll be talking more about targets as we make more progress to the upside, but we've got a number of resistance levels, all of which I went through in the post I did yesterday. All right, let's have a look at the Qs. Nice RSI 5 buy signal, only halfway to target, looking good. The old RSI 14 buy signals, which mostly didn't fail, are sort of getting pretty close to the possible near miss targets now. On the 15-minute chart, we've got a double bottom here. We broke down. We did a rather jagged bull flag, and we're very close to breaking higher. If we break higher, I'm looking for a very nice target in the 495 area, which is actually the 38.2% retracement of the move down from the all-time high. Looking at Dire, we don't have a buy signal on here. I was speculating if we did a retest of the low, then we could set it on up, but obviously we didn't. And it's too late to set one up now. So I'm liking this. We're moving up towards the daily middle band, which I've got in the 425 area. Hourly chart has reached the possible near miss target, and on the 15-minute chart, we've now broken up from an IHS with a target in the 435 area. So how close a match is that with the daily middle band? It's quite a long way above it, and the thing I've got in that area now is the 50 DMA at 434. We will see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at IWM. IWM, nice looking double bottom. I could read this as an inverted head and shoulders, but it's not quite nice enough to mark in, I don't think. So this has, it's almost reached the base target, which is at about the 209 area, with the extended target at about the 210 area. Could this form a large excess to go higher? Yes. And if so, the ideal neckline for that would be in about the 209.3 area. Again, we got a buy signal. That's making more progress. Another day of upside, and this could reach the possible no miss target. We're already testing the daily middle band. Let's just have a quick review of those on the other as well, on the Qs and SPX. On SPX, still somewhere short. I've got that basically. This is coming close to crossing one of the resistance levels I'm watching, and that is the broken double top support in about the 57.70 area. Watching that to see if that we find resistance there, but actually the daily middle band is just above in the 57.86 area. All right, looking at the Qs. This has actually been the slowest off the bottom, very possibly because of Tesla. Because Tesla has really been taking a beating. Although, in all honesty, it's not taking the beating it's probably going to be taking later. I think I'm going to write a post tomorrow talking about the Magnificent Six, which is the Magnificent Seven without Tesla, because I think Tesla is about to drop out of it and never come back. So we will see. But at the moment, I think sales are collapsing around the world. I think the name has been significantly tarnished, and sales are also dropping heavily in China, probably for reasons entirely unrelated. I don't think the voters in China really care about politics in America. I think they've just got a good Chinese alternative now, and they're buying that instead. And at the moment, it's looking better, and it's got a newer model than Tesla. Tesla was an innovator, but sometimes innovators don't manage to consolidate that into a leading position into the final market. I'm thinking Tesla may be about to flame out now. I gave a target of that at 100 the other day. Honestly, I'm wondering if it might flame out altogether and actually just no longer be with us within 2 or 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. In the meantime, I think sales worldwide are likely to halve over the next year or year and a half. Profit margins will be cut, and a PE ratio of 100, which prices in an awful lot of future growth, is going to be looking very, very rich indeed. I think a PE ratio at this stage of 8 might be more appropriate. But we will see how that goes. All right, anyway, I'll be talking about that tomorrow. On DAX, we've seen a nice move up. We've actually still got the old RSI 5 and RSI 14 sell signals here, but that's okay, because I think after this rally, they're going to head down too, and I think we'll get much more participation from the Europeans this time. Japanese, we're having a bit of a rally here. We've actually got over the daily middle band, and the RSI 5 buy signal that was brewing is fixed and actually made target. We've also got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fixed. If we can hold the daily middle band, and if everything else holds as I'm expecting it to, then we've actually got a decent shot at getting up to this ribbon of resistance up here with the 50, 100, and 200 moving averages all in the 38, 500 to 700 area. So we'll see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at. All right, let's have a look at DX. Okay, DX. I've got to say, I was having a look at the people saying, the dollar dropped after the Fed. Barely measurably. I'm thinking this may well be a double bottom. I've got positive divergence on US dollar, and I'm quite liking a rally here. It's not much of a rally, but it could develop into something more. But if we see a sustained break up over 103.8, we would have a target in about the 104.8 area, which could get us back into the range for this declining resistance. But we will see. All right, let's have a look at ZB. ZB, I've been watching this flag for days. I think I drew this line in on Wednesday or Thursday last week, and it hadn't reached it yet, but it's reached it since, and now it's broken up. This has an obvious target at a retest of this high here at 119.17. Now, I've been having some more thoughts about bonds just because the economic outlook for this year has been evolving. So I'll talk to you about that in a moment when I get to the TNX charts, but first, let's do the US dollar charts. Okay, US dollar. We've got a possible weak RSI 14 buy signal brewing, got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing, and kind of overdue for a rally. We've got a nice looking little double bottom here. I'm expecting this to go lower. I've got a head and shoulder target which is in the 101.7 area, and I've got a trend line target in the 100 area, and I'm thinking it might go considerably lower. But there's no reason we can't see a bounce. We've got some nice positive divergence, nice looking double bottom, and if there's an atmosphere of general cheer over the next week or so, there's no reason it can't make this very modest double bottom target and maybe come back and back test the 200 EMA at 104.97. So I'm liking that. Bigger picture, well, smaller picture. This is how it looks, and I've got a really nice double target here at 101.75, because this actually was not only a head and shoulders, but it was also a bull flag that broke down. That's a sort of double target at the same place. I really like it. Bigger picture, I'm thinking we're heading down to this trend line here, which is in the 96 area, and I think we're probably forming a bull flag here. Might turn out to be something else, and of course, as we've just seen, not all bull flags break up, but it's a nice looking setup, and it's the obvious setup to form now, so we shall see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at the TNX chart. Now, TNX, on the bigger picture, I'm expecting to see a retest of this high here at 49.97. But, and there is a but here, I'm considering the possibility. The thing is, we've got a very complex environment for bonds here. One, inflation is likely to go up, but two, it's likely to go up because growth is likely to go down. We're likely to move into recession. That tends to reduce inflationary pressures, although we can get unusually stagflation, but I'm not convinced that we're necessarily going to see that. Normally, that would reduce inflationary pressure, but of course we've got tariffs. Now, tariffs, of course, put up the prices on things, and that will put it up. But I think the reason that the Fed was saying that would likely be transitory today, although obviously their track record is a little spotty on this, but the reason they were saying it was going to be likely to be transitory today is because we're likely to be experiencing that when in a recession. It is, of course, likely to make the recession worse. So we will see how that goes. And the other thing in bonds, and I'm going to get a post out on bonds in the next few days, but the other thing to consider on bonds is that the US has borrowed an awful lot of money. We're in a trade war, and some of our trade partners, some of the US trade partners, may start dumping bonds, treasuries, and moving away from the US dollar as the reserve currency, which I think might be one of the targets of what Trump is trying to do here, because one of the reasons for the big US trade deficit is that the dollar is higher than it arguably should be, and the main reason for that is the dollar is the reserve currency. People buy it to store their funds. Lose that reserve currency status, and there are other issues to that, which I can probably write a post about at some stage, but lose that reserve currency status, and the dollar will drop over the bigger picture. So I'm wondering on the dollar chart whether we might be forming a bull flag, because these play out over years. I mean, on this chart here, we've got a notation I made on the chart in 2012. So, these play out over a long period. But what I'm thinking might happen is we're forming a bull flag here. We then go back up and retest this high. And then this is a double top, and we'd start the real decline, which, if the dollar starts losing its reserve currency status, could be very deep. I mean, as it is, in 2008, this was at 70.70, and we're currently over 100, but we could be getting back into that kind of area as well. In fact, that's what I wrote the note in 2012 about, I think. I was talking about this double bottom, which delivered very nicely. But I think we might be heading back down to these more historic lows. We will see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at so the TNX chart. What I've drawn in here, I know it looks a little confusing, but one of the things I've drawn in here, it would be a rather nice looking large triangle. I think we might be forming a triangle here. Go lower on here, i.e. higher on bonds, and then find support at a triangle trend line to be determined. There's a third one from here, well, which I haven't drawn in yet. But we find support at some kind of triangle support trend line, then we go back, we break up from the larger triangle, which is basically a bigger flag, and then we go back up and retest that 49.97. Where we go from there, I don't know, but this could be a double top if we're going to see a strongly deflationary period, and bonds are going to go up a lot, or if the market panics about Trump's tax cut plans later in the year, then we could see this go up a lot. And I provisionally penciled in a potential target in the 8 area, which is one, a very nice Fibonacci target, and two, I've got an IHS target there. It's not the greatest IHS in the world, but it's not bad. It's perfectly valid. I am wondering whether it might go up there, and if the bond market goes into crisis about large tax plans suggesting the US has no firm plans to pay back the money it's been borrowing, then we could see interest rates up those. Bad risks tend to have real interest rates at high levels, like Russia. So we'll see how that goes. But we've got on the hourly chart, we've got nice looking setup here. Does this look like a bull flag directly? I'm skeptical. And one thing I do look for at the bottom of a move is a nice pattern. And usually I find one. I haven't found one here. So that strikes me there are other options. We could go lower and make a large flag. Alternatively, this may not be a flag at all. This could be a head and shoulders with the right shoulder forming at the moment. And if that was, then we could head straight back to this low here at 36.03. How would that look on the bigger chart? Sorry, I'm just throwing out ideas here. That could actually fit much better with an overall flag of the conventional type. Maybe head down to about 34 and then go back and test 49.97. I'll be watching it carefully, but one way or another. We're pretty much guaranteed at this stage an interesting year. All right, CL. We have a nice looking double bottom. It broke up, and it's been wiggling around uncertainty since then. I've moved this into the May contract now. We haven't quite reached that with the volume on NG. I might be doing that on Friday or the weekend. But I'm still wondering about that double bottom, but I am wondering, obviously, whether that double bottom might be failing. If it is failing, then I like the downside. Retest of this low here, and a possible retest of 63.57 coming. Okay, NG. NG, we've got nice pullback here after a very strong rise, and I'm still watching and still thinking there's no particular reason not to make it. I'm still watching the big double bottom target in the 5.75 to 6.25 area. Now, one thing I am noticing in the short term is you've got a possible weak 60-minute sell signal brewing, or at least we had one brewing, because actually it's just fixed in the last couple of hours. So I am wondering whether we are going to see a little more of a retracement, maybe a retest this low. But bigger picture, I'm still leaning bullish here, and we are due a cold snap at the end of March, which is coming up. Now, it might be that the weatherman got it wrong. That does happen, occasionally happen. But the big cold snap could actually give this a real push. So I'm watching to see whether that happens. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture. Okay. Bear with me a moment. All right, looking at CL. CL, no current divergence. We're failing at the daily middle band at the moment, and I think we might be heading back into the retest of the low. But at the moment, it's not definitively failed. That double bottom I marked in on the hourly chart could still make target. Looking at WTIC, I am still leaning towards seeing this trend line here and the retest of the low, which would be at the same level. I've got that retest that low at 63.57. It's a nice looking wedge, and the next obvious target is this trend line here, which is at about 63.50. So really, that's the obvious next target. We will see. All right, let's have a look at natural gas. Natural gas, we've got, well, I think it's better seen on this chart where you can see the very nice double bottom that's broken up. Could we fail here? Yes. But normally we'd head off and make the target. NG tends to be pretty good at that. I mean, we sometimes see some wild swings on the way, but until demonstrated otherwise, I'm leaning towards seeing this 5.75 area at least, which is a particularly attractive target because, of course, it's the 50% retracement of this move down, amazing move down from 10.04 to 166. So it's, the kind of decline you only ever really see on crypto or natural gas. So we will see. But I'm still liking that target. I'm not seeing any obvious reason to think it won't be made. Okay, let's have a look at metals. GC has gone higher still, and it's generally not a good idea to fight a trend like this, in my opinion. So silver and gold, I've seen some seriously wild runs in the past. I don't think this is necessarily going to be one of them, but I'm a bit cautious about saying it's needs to go down. That I've seen that get very expensive on these before. We've got a lot of negative divergence here. We could be setting up for a reversal, but gold and silver sometimes just go through the divergence and just continue higher anyway. SI, we've got a very nice looking potential double top. We've also got a potential smaller double top. 60-minute sell signal has now reached the possible near-miss target. Sorry, I haven't marked that in. On HG, is just heading higher. Now, we'll have a look at that on the bigger picture chart, because on HG, I'm wondering if we're heading back into a retest of the all-time high. So let's have a look at that. On copper, I've got the all-time high at 520. And I've been wondering whether that would retest. We're getting pretty close to a retest. I'm thinking we're going to head up into that 520 area, and I'm wondering if it might turn around soon after that. Why? Because the reason they call Dr. Copper is because it seems to be fairly closely aligned with the progress and the status of the world economy. I think we might be looking at a world recession over the next few months, and I think I think the US economy, the signs are that it's probably going into recession before the end of the year, but I think tariffs have been speeding that up somewhat and are likely to make that faster and deeper. When will that end? I don't know. It depends how keen Donald Trump is on tariffs. I suspect that the trouble will end when he gives up on this policy, and as we go into recession and prices go up, I think his popularity is going to be falling off a cliff. So, I mean, it's a matter of how high his tolerance is for waiting for the promised land. Now, you can wait a very long time for the promised land. In fact, Moses died on the hill, just being able to see it after about 40 years or whatever. I think, frankly, keep up this tariff war might be waiting even longer than that. But I suspect people's patience won't last that long. In the meantime, though, this could actually be a double top on HG. But I'm thinking once we get to 520, I'll be looking around for a high. Okay, let's have a look at GC. GC, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fix. So far, that's delivered absolutely nothing. But this has reached the trend line I was looking at on the GC chart, and I am watching with interest to see whether that holds. Looking at SI. Might be better on looking at the silver weekly chart, actually. Here, I've got a trend line here. I was looking for a retest, and we've got it, and we've got a possible double top here. I'm skeptical about that playing out, and this isn't the only trend line I've got, but we're pretty close to it, and I am wondering whether we might see a reversal here. Looking at the monthly chart, I have got an alternate trend line here, which is really nice. And I've got that up at about 38 area, but I am thinking that we might see a significant reversal, short term at least, at one or the other. And we're reaching the first one now. Okay, looking at palladium. Palladium, no current divergence. We've got a very nice looking potential level bottom. Needs to see a conviction break over this declining resistance. We have seen a couple of encouraging pokes over. If that is the case, then we could see a significant move up. But I would, with the caveat that palladium is, I think, mainly used. Palladium and platinum, I think, both heavily used in car production, which are about to get seriously disrupted in the US. On platinum, no real sign of a move here. If there is a clear pattern, it has eluded me so far. But it is heading up kind of at the moment, so I'm not seeing anything compelling saying that's about to end. But I'm not really seeing a great deal to hang my hat on the index anyway. Okay, GDX. GDX, we still got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fix, but we made this target, which I was expecting, and we've gone higher, which I was thinking might well happen. So at the moment, we're kind of in breaking out, and that may just consolidate and keep going. I'm not taking this sell signal particularly seriously. We had an RSI 5-1 deliver at the same time, and that made target. So I think that's pretty much done. I'd say the same about GDXJ, which again had a nice looking double top, which has then, it looks as though it's in the process of breaking up. I think these might all break up, and we might see metals just continue higher for the time being. These can, once it gets some momentum going, and gold at least is getting some momentum going, then we can see these run quite a way. Copper, I would love to see retest 520 as well. All right, let's have a look at Not a lot to see on the currencies. Euro, I've got a nice looking double top I've shown a couple of times, and I'm thinking this may well deliver while we see DXY rally. I've got quite an attractive target there. It's close to the annual pivot, which I've got at 1.0656. Not a lot else to say. Possible topping action maybe on GBP. We've got possible bottoming action on the yen. Some interesting action on the end here. I'm not sure. This often doesn't really do what the dollar's doing. We'll see whether that happens this time. On CAD, 60-minute buy signal has reached possible near miss target, but we're kind of between patterns here. Waiting to see what develops. But I think bigger picture, I'm leaning towards the dollar going down in the longer term, and or at least for a while, and the others against it going up. So that would be leaning down on USD/JPY and USD CAD, and the others would all be leaning up. So I think there's not really much else to say on the pattern setups there at the moment. On KC, I'm still wondering about a flag here. Ideal target would be in about 355 area. SB, I've redrawn this. Oh, sorry, I've redrawn the daily one, so we'll come to that. But we got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed, and that is making some progress. We've also seen a double top form here potentially, and I'm wondering if that might deliver. We're seeing a bit of a pullback here. That may not develop into anything interesting, but if we start getting down towards the monthly pivot in the 1870 area, that will start looking very interesting, and we'll see. CC, nice looking double bottom here. Didn't really do anything today on wheat. This looks like a bear flag. It looks very like a bear flag, and normally bear flags, of course, break down and head off to the retest of the lows. Until demonstrated otherwise, that's what I'm expecting here, because this is a nice 3-touch support trend line, and it looks ready to break down in the near future. On corn, wondering about a breakup. This was a less nice bull flag. Not convinced it was a bull flag, but maybe. It's but it could have been, arguably a bear flag, bull flag triangle. It's broken up for the time being, waiting to see where that goes. Looking at soy, this looks like a triangle forming. If so, it would likely be a bearish triangle. Looking at cotton. Cotton, we're seeing a bit of reversal here. The sell signal made target already. It needs to decide which side of the monthly pivot it's going to be trading on. On lumber, we're seeing a bit of a move down here. I'd quite like to see that retest this high, just set up a nice looking double top, but it's not looking particularly interested in doing that at the moment. Live cattle is continuing higher, having retested this high. Possible 60-minute sell signal is brewing, maybe, but it's not particularly convincing. Live cattle, we've got a nice looking potential double top here. It still has a decision to make as to whether it's going to stall here or continue higher. I don't really have any particularly obvious answer to that question. We'll just have to see. Okay, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. The futures on coffee, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal as fixed, and we have broken down below this support trend line, and we're holding below the daily middle band. So that's all bearish so far, but we may be forming a bull flag, setting up a retest of the high. I would say this is at nosebleed levels by historical standards, and actually you can see that even on this daily chart. It comes from here in October 23 at 144, and now it's at 441. That is an impressive run. Historically, it's also impressive if you look at the monthly chart. So I think some kind of a high may be forming here, but I think we might see the retest of the high retest of this high at 441 first. On sugar, weak RSI 14 sell signal has reached the possible near miss target, so I'm more or less ruling that out. Oh, the pattern wasn't on sugar. Sorry, it was on one of the others. Okay, we've seen a nice reversal back up here, but it's just wiggling around really. I'm wondering whether it's going to retest this low here at 1752, and if we see that, then that could set up a very nice looking double bottom. On cocoa, we've got a possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing. We've got an RSI 5 buy signal fixed. We are looking at a decent rally, I think. We don't really have a strong reversal pattern, but it's just an okay looking double bottom or part formed IHS. Needs to get over the daily middle band next, which is at 83.67. All right, looking at wheat, this is where the wedge was. Okay, this is all sprung into focus now. And while we might see a retest of this low, and that flag might deliver that, bigger picture, I think we're heading back up towards the the wedge resistance, which is currently at about the 612, 613 area. On corn, keeping an open mind on corn, but I'm wondering, I have been wondering about a possible retest of this low here at 442.40. We've obviously made the double top target and then some. No current divergence. On soy, no current divergence. I am wondering whether this might be, well, we've made the double top target. I'm still wondering about a possible retest this low here at 955.40 if we see a wave down in grains generally. On cotton, no obvious chart here. It's this isn't a great chart. I'm going to have a look and see if I can find more on the weekly and monthly charts. But I was very disappointed when the stock chart stopped covering the current month on cotton, and I'm stuck with this chart here. So I don't really have a good view on this because really I don't have the data to have one. Okay, looking at lumber. Lumber, I am wondering about a high here. I'd love to see a retest this this high first, but I'm thinking we might see a significant retracement. It's been a nice run up. Not obviously huge by some of the standards of run-ups we've seen on lumber in recent years, but nonetheless, this is a pretty nice run-up. I think this may well be a bearish overthrow, and of course, if we're heading into recession in the US, that's likely to affect lumber prices as well as tariffs, which of course could have an impact both on prices and demand. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. So I will catch you guys again on Sunday. Cheers.